What's going on, everybody? I want to talk to you today about cash, and is cash still king? I also want to talk about some of the safer funds I'm going to be getting into as I transition to retirement. And I'd love to hear some of the safer funds that you guys are invested in. Now I'm speaking dividend funds primarily here. This is Mike, the tactical stock scalper. All right, baby. So in my industry, there's a lot of people that don't accept debit, that only accept cash, and there's a lot of obvious reasons for that. Now, my company does accept debit, but I will say, like, primarily when people come into youth tournaments, they have to pay to get in. And these tournament directors and organizations that operate tournaments, they only accept cash at the gate. So that means when the vast majorities of customers come in, uh, they're they're paying cash quite heavily as comparison to debit. And many of my competitors in my industry, like I said, don't do any debit at all. We do some debit, and that allows us, I think, to be ahead of the competition as far as that goes. But the cash and that we receive from our business allows us a lot of flexibility, and I think that can translate a lot to one's own account, and it works well for my accounts. Okay, so I sit, depending on the situation, pretty heavily in cash. And people will say, what about missed opportunities of not investing? Well, I trade as well as invest. So the cash affords me opportunities to get into trades that if I wasn't as cash heavy in my account, I wouldn't be able to trade as much. And also, it affords me the ability to wait for big dips or corrections and have that cash available to put in. And that's what's great about, for me, in my perspective anyway, about not only having primarily a cash based business, but cash in my account as well that can sit there and be liquid and move how I need it to move. And so, I don't know how many people really sit in cash. I think uh, primarily when I see people talking about it, they're pretty much, 100% all in the market all the time. And that's, whatever's best for your plan. But for me, I find a lot of benefits to being cash heavy despite inflation and all this. I think it's about how you utilize that cash to progress yourself further, not only in business, but in your account as well. Now, I want to talk about some of the safer funds. Now, yeah, I've talked a lot about high yield funds, and those have been great to boost my portfolio to get to a point where the monthly dividends coming in are, we could almost live off those right now, and that's great. But since I'm going into semi-retirement mode starting like November, um, I'll still be able to reinvest quite a bit and only have to pull a portion of them. So my main focus now is that I got all these high yield funds, transitioning some of that money and cash to safer funds. And like I said, I'd really like to know what some of you guys really like on safer funds from a dividend perspective. Okay, so XDTE has really been outperforming pretty much everything in this type of space. It's really blown FEPI out of the water. It's beating QDTE. It's beating iSpy. XDTE is doing really well. So that's definitely one I'm going to be getting into. But I'd really like to see how XDTE performs in a prolonged down period in the market. And I have the time to do that. And I can wait for a big correction before I move cash into that position, or use dividends or whatever. And another thing, like for instance, just with my IWMY position, starting early next year sometime, February, March, April, something like that, I should at that point, depending upon what dividends we receive between now and then, it should be really close to getting that whole position paid off. I've been done putting money in it. So I'm going to be receiving basically free dividends from that point forward, because the whole position will be paid off. And so I'm thinking of transitioning and putting that money while I'm in semi-retirement mode, instead of using it to live off of, because I won't need all of it, to start transitioning that dividend money into things like XDTE. Now, I really thought about FEPI, and I know FEPI and XDTE are really different in like FEPI's underlyings versus what XDTE is doing with their 0DTE options on SPX, but so they're totally different. But FEPI kind of got me nervous with the Intel thing. After Intel dropped, do I think Intel will recover over time and be just fine? Yeah, I think so. But with them owning the underlyings and having a basket of, I don't know how many they have offhand, does that present some problems during a prolonged downtrend in the market with receiving dividends and your share price drop? Maybe. So I'm going to be watching FEPI and seeing how, so that one's kind of, I don't know about. For sure, I'm going to be getting into JEPQ just because I love it. And I know people don't like it or whatever, but I like JEPQ. And so I'll be transitioning to JEPQ and XDTE for sure. Now, why am I not going into QDTE? Because I love the swing trade QDTE. I think it's extremely overpowered as far as a swing trading instrument goes, because you get the weekly dividends with it, right? And it catches pretty nice share price appreciation on the way up. It's not to the underlying, right? Not to like the NDX 100 or the Qs or whatever, but it still does really well on the way up because of tech and being volatile. So I'm not going to hold QDTE for long term and dividends. I'm going to swing trade that one and continue to swing trade that one to bring in revenue whenever I swing trade it, just another stream of revenue there. I'm also looking at possibly iSpy or SPY, maybe getting into those. So if you're in any of these and you like them for long-term holding, please let me know. I'd be really interested in those type of funds, and if you guys like them. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I still believe cash is king. This is Mike, the Tactical Stock Scalper, out.